Yo. What is ZALGO? On this channel, we are no stranger to horror, in particular those found on the internet, and broadly, those of creepypastas, the likes of Jeff the Killer, Slender Man, The Rake. These are not only internet urban legends, but stories, characters, concepts that have lived on far beyond their original forms. And yet, they all had original forms. Though they may all have changed a bit with time, they all have a basic shape. Jeff the Killer is a crazed killer with a cut-up, messed-up face. Slender Man is an entity that appears as a tall, faceless man in a suit. And the Rake is a strange combination of creatures, but nonetheless is well known for its long, sharp claws, thus its name. But ZALGO, what does it look like? Where does it come from? And why, after all these years, does its influence still shape so many forms of internet horror to this very day? Tonight, I'd like to take you on a strange journey, one through the history of creepypastas, of early internet culture, and of everlasting scars. Tonight, we'll be unraveling one of the internet's eldritch horrors, and diving into the mind of those who conjured it upon us, as we travel into the dark, blood-red corruption of all that was and is, and answer the question, what is ZALGO? To start, we must establish what most people know or might have heard about with ZALGO, the first being images like these. These are all images that are connected with this entity, and right off the bat, you'll no doubt notice that a couple of these are comic strips. Simple ones like Garfield that you'd find in a newspaper, that have been changed, corrupted, seemingly by simply uttering the name ZALGO. Characters' eyes can turn black, their faces distorted or changed into a strange abomination. This picture, on the other hand, shows a person. In this case, the super old YouTube classic Boxy, now in a strange, bloody corpse-like state. Unlike other creepypastas, these bizarre edits are the images, the visages for which ZALGO is known for. Not an actual physical entity, but seemingly a strange incantation that can turn something that was once normal or mundane into something unnerving. Black voids for eyes, unnatural shapes, trailing shadows, tentacles, gnarly teeth, or strange, hellish red cacophony of blood and gore. These images almost always tied to the phrase, ZALGO, he comes. Another form of ZALGO you might have seen around is like this. This text that is often described as glitchy or cursed text is actually, originally, ZALGO text, it being a different expression of the entity, the corruption of words, it being implied that they have somehow been taken over or belong to or under the influence of ZALGO. And finally, we have this concept expressed through video form as well, which I suppose I ought to just show you a few of those now.
Nice of the princess to invite us over for a picnic, eh, Luigi? I hope she made lots of spaghetti!
Luigi, look!
So by now, I suppose you get the idea, broadly speaking, that ZALGO is an entity that corrupts things, images, words, videos. And I suppose the greater implication being that ZALGO could also corrupt reality itself. Perhaps even you. In short, ZALGO is, as the internet has used him, the thing behind glitches, the corruption of media, of words, or art, or of innocence. ZALGO, from this sense, works kind of like a concept more than a true entity, something ominous that's coming but is never truly seen. However, as is the case with any other creepypasta concept, the online community began to shape it more and, for better or worse, build upon its mythos. And in this case, this would lead to an actual creepypasta story being written about ZALGO, entitled He Comes, written November 18th, 2013, by author Chris Phoenix. Of which I won't read in full here, but the basic gist is about a dude who is slowly noticing people around him at work and in life in general acting rather strangely, before he then starts seeing, for the briefest of moments, those same people's eyes turning a pitch inky black. He sees some of his old comic books turn into strange abominations. Something like a pack of soy sauce turns into an oozing mass of black maggots that infect his food. And by story's end, even his own wife and newborn baby have those same black, inky eyes. And so he runs away from it all, having the sneaking suspicion that this ZALGO entity that he keeps hearing all these people around him chant is after him, perhaps after his soul, or to make him part the greater whole that is ZALGO. That is one of the creepypastas most know ZALGO for, and I'll fully admit it's not the best written thing out there, but nevertheless is interesting, as this is a story about ZALGO the entity contorting and corrupting the reality of a single person. Notably, it's unclear if the things our protagonists are seeing are actually happening, or if they are simply just in his own mind. Is ZALGO actually corrupting the people in his world, or is the corruption not of reality itself, but rather one's perception of it? There is also another rather popular creepypasta connected with ZALGO, this one being far shorter, mind you, and in the form of a poem. It, however, is even worse. However, at the very end of this poem is probably the most influential part of it, in which there is a description of ZALGO itself, which reads as follows. Quote, "He waits behind the wall, in a palace of tortured glass, served by the legions, forged by the tears of the restless dead, and clad in armor, carved from the suffering of mothers. In his right hand he holds a dead star, and in his left hand he holds a candle whose light is shadow. His left hand is stained in the blood of Amdegar. His 6 mouths speak in different tongues, and the 7th shall sing the song that ends the earth. He comes." Unquote. This description would come to be quite influential, as many drawings of ZALGO tend to showcase him being a jet black-skinned knight of sorts, as well as a being of either many eyes or no eyes at all, an entity with many mouths. Sometimes it's completely formless, just sort of a shadow. Other times it's much more abstract, a sort of amalgamation of disturbing or unnerving shapes. Other times he's basically just some kind of variation of the devil or something. And I suppose, in a sense, all of these could be true forms of the entity, and yet none are the true depiction, because there is no actual true form to ZALGO. No matter how many times people draw him looking like some sort of black or red devil looking thing, it's only just a popular idea. Much like another popular idea for ZALGO is to have him serve as a primary villain for the extended creepypasta universe, with him usually going up against Slender Man in some sort of war between Slender and his proxies and ZALGO and his corrupted, perhaps? I don't know, this shit's usually pretty cringe, but at the same time is also quite funny, regardless. However, what I often don't see people talk about in regards to ZALGO is how it influenced basically entire genres of internet horror, especially creepypastas. After all, for something to be ZALGOfied, it must be something mundane, or, better yet, innocent, and have it be corrupted by its dark influence. This depiction almost always being connected to cosmic horror, and particularly red and black distortions or colors. Now, where have I heard something similar to that before? Well, one story that comes to mind would be the ever-infamous Sonic.exe, the creepypasta that many attribute to popularizing video game creepypastas as a formula. That being a game, usually a kid's game, being corrupted in some sort of fashion. This usually means the characters dying in terrible, bloody ways, the world being turned into a dark and gore-filled distortion of what it once was, and notably, one of the main characters turning into a sort of distortion of themselves with black and red eyes. Sonic.exe is of course the most popular variation of this, but there's also quite a few Pokemon creepypastas like that of Lost Silver that come to mind. Quite a few of the Mario creepypastas also have something similar to this happen. Even those popular My Little Pony Luna Flash games have some kind of variation on this. Even the ever popular Godzilla NES creepypasta, though it does have its own original concepts and sort of demon creature, still feels strangely connected to ZALGO as a concept. And if you were to replace the demon in that story with ZALGO, I don't think really anything narratively would change. Same goes for any of these other pastas, because all of these pastas have to do with something innocent being corrupted. It not being clear if it's in the mind of the author, something really happening, or a change in perception, or if the cartridge or file is somehow haunted with some kind of demon or whatever. These games tend to also be quite glitchy and have the character going out of bounds or having the text across the screen go all corrupted. Again, very ZALGO-like. And hell, there are even some versions of the Sonic.exe lore that straight up make ZALGO the explanation for why things are happening the way that they are. And it doesn't stop there either, as most Lost Episode creepypastas are yet again heavily influenced by ZALGO whether they intend to or not. I mean, just look at these images. Innocent characters being corrupted by some sort of haunted thing or entity or something. Even if it's not expressly ZALGO, one could argue that the concept of ZALGO is what's important, not actually the so-called entity. To me, the concept of ZALGO is the corruption of innocence, the corruption of the mundane, the glitch that makes things off kilter. The following Lost Episode clips and creations in my mind being some perfect examples of just that. These lost episodes all work within a certain color palette. They all turn the mundane into something scary, and while again it is very rare that ZALGO, the actual entity, is ever conjured up as the reason for any of the spooky or weird things happening within an episode of a lost episode, it is nonetheless clearly a genre of creepypasta that is heavily inspired by the concept of ZALGO. But honestly, online horror in general takes from this concept. It's so ingrained in internet horror to have something that is seemingly innocent and cute turn out to be something sort of awful, disgusting, an abomination, or hold some terrible secret that feels like it might be taken for granted just how unique the concept once was before it was used over and over and over again. And while it would be rather silly, I'd say, to attribute all of these things to just simply ZALGO, it's hard to not deny that it is one of the most influential types of creepypasta story, and as you'll come to find, is also one of the oldest. It coming from all the way back in the year 2004, in its birthplace, its bizarre incubation chamber, known only as the Something Awful Forums. It was July 27th of 2004 when the Something Awful Forums notable and rather popular user, or site goon, Shmorky, uploaded edited versions of the comic series of Nancy and Archie to his personal website, both of which depicted either an ominous warning in Archie's case, or the first instance of ZALGO's name being spoken before the comic turns into weird and bizarre imagery. This would later on spread on to other members of the forum, and eventually other blogs, onto 4chan, and yes, even Reddit. With this post made on Christmas Day on 2010 featuring a chat roulette screenshot of a ZALGOfied boxy with the accompanying ZALGO text reaching the front page of r/pics. Eventually, word of this spike in popularity got around to ZALGO's creator, Shmorky, and in 2009 he decided to answer the question of where ZALGO comes from. What does it mean, and if it was in reference to something or something he totally made up. Reading, quote,
I like how many people try to figure out the origins of the meme. Don't even know where it came from originally. I'll tell you where it came from. From me. I just made it up. ZALGO is something horrible. ZALGO is something that's coming. It's coming soon. It has nothing to do with Lovecraft. I'm not nerdy enough to make those kind of references. Seeing it become a meme kind of killed doing further ZALGO edits in the future. For me anyway. But maybe I'll do one when you least expect it.
Unquote. And come 2011, Shmorky would do just that, with his animation done around Halloween time that year.
He's gotta pick this one. He's got to. I don't see how a pumpkin patch could be more sincere than this one. You can look all around and there's not a sign of hypocrisy. Nothing but sincerity as far as the eye can see.
He's not here. Where'd he go? Maybe he ran away.
Well, it was a great day. I know one thing I'm thankful for today.
So then, that's it, right? Problem solved. ZALGO was a joke of sorts. A horror concept made up by this artist and animator named Shmorky that sort of ballooned into a full-blown creepypasta with extra lore, and that would end up accidentally becoming extremely influential in the online horror scene, much like so many other stories of similar creepypastas or memes on the internet. So, to answer the question, what is ZALGO? ZALGO is, 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 ZALGO is. Born September 5th, 1980, in Vinland, New Jersey, United States of America, Shmorky, otherwise known as David Kelly, is in many ways a perfect representation of the old internet. An artist and animator who made a name for themselves by sharing their work on the internet. However, unlike many who might have made their names through sites like Newgrounds or later on YouTube and the like, Shmorky claimed their fame through a website called the Something Awful Forums. Something Awful was first created on November 16th of 1999 by Richard Charles Kyanka, or better known online as Lowtax. Something Awful began as Lowtax's personal humor site, spun out from his Cranky Steve persona that originally came from Planet Quake, which, in case you're wondering, was a forum of sorts that was made by IGN for Quake fans. As the audience snowballed, the site added a forum and weekly front page features. Something Awful became extremely popular fast, and in time quite profitable, as in 2001, Something Awful introduced a $9.95 one-time fee for posting access as an unusual paywall that endures to this very day. And while you would assume this would limit the reach it could possibly have, it did quite the opposite, as it ended up creating a very moderated, members-only sort of community. The site was well known for reoccurring series like that of Photoshop Friday and Comedy Goldmine, which showcase standout forum threads and image parodies, helping codify early meme culture. In fact, most meme culture and general meta commentary and community-type stuff that comes from around the internet can be traced back here to this website, including some of the oldest memes around. Some of these memes literally being old enough to drink in the USA by now, by the way. Some other notable things that can be traced back to Something Awful are the modern Let's Play format, as Something Awful forum members were known to document games with screenshots, a bit of narration, and later on, videos, with these threads often being titled Let's Play Insert Game Title, which would come to evolve into just being a YouTube thing in later years. Most relevantly, it was also the birthplace of Slender Man, as on June 10th of 2009, in a Something Awful Photoshop contest thread, user Victor Surge, or Eric Knudsen, posted 2 doctored photos and snippets of faux lore, minting the Slender Man urban legend that later escaped into broader media and culture. Even 4chan has its very own existence to thank from the Something Awful forums, as 4chan's creator Moot launched 4chan as a direct result of Lowtax purging every single one of the furries and anime fans from his forum. Moot in particular creating 4chan as a response to the anime fans purging part of that equation. I could go on, and honestly a video on just this website's history, its infamous creator, and all the strings attached to it would make for an interesting video in of itself, maybe even an iceberg series in of itself. But getting back on topic, David Kelly, first known under the pen name of Shmorky around the year 2000, named himself as such, as according to his own websites, because, quote,
My pen name Shmorky is based on a real-life animator from the 50s with a similar name. He is where I got my inspiration from. Looking at his old cartoons, one can see how he rubbed off on me. Unfortunately, not many of his animations exist anymore, since he destroyed them himself. I was able to find a commercial he did for Lucky Strike, though. There's an interesting story behind it. Shmorson Shmorky K was commissioned by the cigarette company to make an animated advertisement that they could use on a primetime television series. It is still unknown what series it was to be used on. He agreed for a very small amount of money, even less than what Jay Ward was asking for. That is because he did all of the work himself. Somewhere along the lines, there was a dispute over who owned the copyright to animation. This was usually what made Shmorky go out of work, his insanity. He insisted that he owned the cartoon and that he'd only show it when he wanted to. Eventually, he was thrown out of the building and the ad was only ever shown twice before being shelved for many decades. It was 3 years later, when Shmorky was digging through their garbage, that he found the cartoon again. When I befriended this man and I told him I was a fan of his, he let me have it. He then started to follow me around a lot, but that's another story. You have to excuse the poor quality. This is a very old copy, and not many people are interested in saving this extremely rare piece of animation. Probably because no one knows or cares who Shmorky was.
Unquote. The first place that Shmorky would end up posting his stuff to would be Albino Black Sheep, back in 2001 to 2003, where they would make several animations, which I'll go ahead and show you a few clips of right now.
Welcome to my pharmacy. Drugs and pills as far as you can see. I enjoy your company. Just make sure you buy something from me. Please don't loiter or lean on the wall, drinking coffee and having a ball. Cause you damn kids always spill stuff on the floor, and you don't clean it up, and you're stupid as all. Don't you know that I used to know karate? I'll punch you in the pee-pee, or I can just cough the coughs.
How is baby formed? How is baby formed? How girl get pregnant? They need to do weigh-in stain, mother. Who killed their babbies because these babby can't fricks back? It was on the news this morning. A mother in who had killed her 3 kids. They are taking the 3 babby back to New York to lady to rest. My Barry are with the father who lost his children. I am truly sorry for your lots.
I can't reach the bomb to the donos. What a lie. We are up. I can't reach the bomb to the donos. I can't reach the bomb to the donos.
He also posted his stuff on Newgrounds, and by 2004 he joined Something Awful's creative fold, contributing animations to the site's Flashtub section. This happened due to both he and Lowtax meeting one another at a convention that Lowtax was hosting for members of the site called GoonCon 2K4. Lowtax, impressed by Shmorky's work, offered a job to Shmorky, where they could create animations for the website and could actually make money from it. Thus, FlashTub was created. FlashTub was sort of hosted by Shmorky, but also acted as a venue later on for independent animators and members of the Something Awful community, or goons as they so often called themselves, or at times contracted creators to produce and publish Flash cartoons. His content was most often irreverent, absurd, amateurish in a deliberate way, parody-heavy, and often centered around gaming and fandom culture, and general internet subculture references, with some animations even being direct references or parodies of stuff that happened in the Something Awful forums. For all these reasons, it was well loved on the site, and as is the case with most things that came from Something Awful, these animations eventually proliferated beyond its walls, thus making Shmorky an ever-growing popular and somewhat beloved figure by all. It was also around this time that he would make those first ZALGO comics, which once again was spread throughout the site and eventually elsewhere in the coming years. Mind you, his comics and the ZALGO stuff would be posted onto his very own website, where many of his comics, like his cartoons, were very video game and internet culture themed, and again, usually pretty crude and edgy. It was around 2008 when Shmorky created a fictional species called the klurfs, which are characters that would be frequently used in his animations and art. These creatures would come to be the most iconic aspect of Shmorky's art and style. They at one point even created this lore and style guide of sorts for the klurfs in case anyone ever wanted to create art with them, which was rather famously parodied and profited off by the rather infamous internet comic artist Stone Toss with his own variation of them, Lurks. Shmorky, at this point, was on top of the fucking world, as by 2012 he was also being commissioned by several YouTube channels, including the Game Grumps, for animations, but also from that of Adult Swim, who he ended up making several channel indents for, including the famous This Is Fine animation, which later on turned into a meme in of itself.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently. That's okay. Things are gonna be okay.
Not to mention, he had his own YouTube channel and Patreon, which, again at the time, were quite popular, and he even appeared as a co-host on Lowtax's Let's Play channel, / YouTube dumping ground of sorts, Gaming Garbage. And so this guy really was everywhere. The name Shmorky became well known as one of the most famous and successful for his time internet animators. Mind you, before this he actually was known under, well, a different name. The name of Dave Bunny, and under this name he would create exclusively furry art. This included some of the stuff that I'll be showing on screen right now, as well as a couple animations and drawings, etc. But there's also stuff I can't show you here, like porn. Lots and lots of porn. Oh, and diaper fur stuff. That is to say, furries wearing and shitting in diapers. Mind you, many of his internet animations later would come to be known again for being quite edgy. However, I bring this early name up of Dave Bunny because I tend to notice many people don't tend to cover it in their retrospectives of Shmorky. And second, by 2004, this account on VCL, one of the largest libraries of furry art and stories on the internet at the time, according to the Wayback Machine, would show you a page of 404. And that is because, despite Shmorky posting art there for quite a few years, they would come to deny ever being a furry vehemently in the future. And some of this may be due to the fact that by then Shmorky had found his home in the Something Awful forums, which were known to heavily dislike and at times loved outright bullying furries at the time. So there was a bit of conflict, you might say, with him having a history of being a furry and being so prominent on the website. This wouldn't be a good look, you know. Though, another reason he might have made sure this old website he posted to was completely wiped from the internet might go just a little bit deeper than simple furry association. Because you see, some of the art here is clearly of Dave himself, wearing a diaper, wearing a onesie, shitting himself. Oh, and of course, how could I forget, there was one picture of just him, like real life him, straight up in a diaper, which I won't show you the full thing here, but needless to say, this was something Shmorky wanted hidden. And it wasn't just because he had some weird gross kinks. No, it was because Shmorky had a lot more to hide. For all of what I'm about to say to make sense, you sort of need to understand what the living situation of Shmorky was by 2016. You see, by this point, Shmorky had found himself not just simply working for the Something Awful forums and lowtax. No, he was doing all that, but he was also living with lowtax. Why, you may ask? Well, that's a rather complicated story, but not to get too far ahead of the spiral, on September 2nd, not long after an official thread was made on the Kiwi farms about Shmorky, Lowtax himself would come to visit there and answer some questions, and when pressed on what exactly his relationship with Shmorky was, well, he stated the following, quote, 100% honest, when he was animating and drawing shit on the forums like around 2002, I thought he was funny and creative. I would chat with him on AIM and ICQ, or whatever the fuck we used back then. But it was just a superficial friendship. We spoke of nothing of substance, just made fun of shit or whatever. After a while, I learned he didn't have a steady job, and since he had a sense of humor at the time and wasn't completely nuts, I offered to pay him to do the flash tub, because I liked the stuff he made on the forums, and I also felt bad that he was unemployed and living with a woman addicted to World of Warcraft, who let her many cats urinate on his clothing. Eventually, he told me he couldn't stand to live in Philadelphia anymore, because of the mean old piss cat Warcraft broad. Shmorky's always the victim here. So I felt bad once again, and since I considered him a friend, offered him a job doing the flash tub in the office here in bumfuck Missouri. At least that way he could afford his own place and, I guess, be in control of choosing which cat pisses on his shirts. The day he arrived, I literally had to take all of his clothes to the dry cleaners because the cat piss odor was making me physically ill. Anyway, things were good for a few years. I could joke around him, and we had a similar sense of humor. I enjoyed watching bad movies and playing games and writing scripts for flash tubs with him, because he could come up with some great stuff. The closest he got to my kids was when he was teaching them how to draw cartoons and helping them with art in the main entryway of the office, which I could see at all times. But then he slowly started falling apart mentally. I don't know if he was going through depression and reverting to the real Shmorky, but he stopped joking around. Everything was serious. His voice began to rise in pitch. He became more and more involved with Tumblr. He wouldn't stop talking about gender. He would get mad and slam the door on me when I would claim gender does exist. Either you've got a wiener or a pokey hole. And he'd get flustered and storm out. He began wearing a yarn wig. He began stuffing himself with paper towels. He began wearing a girdle. He began wearing a cape. He began wearing makeup. Then that psycho bitch he was engaged with came into town and things got even worse. I had to bail her out of jail at 3 a.m. because she assaulted him after the cops pulled her over for suspected drunken driving. According to Shmorky,
She just tapped me with the 2 fingers, that's all.
but Shmorky has the unique ability to see the world through a completely different set of lens than the rest of us. There were 5 cop cars there. They handcuffed her. She began screaming that they were anti-Semitic, and her family was all lawyers, and she was going to sue for $80 million. When the bail bondswoman came, she couldn't understand a word Shmorky said, because of his fucked up squeaky ass voice. So I had to act as a translator while she stifled a laugh the entire time. This was pretty much the beginning of the end. I let his girlfriend use one of the work computers as long as she shut the door, so I wouldn't have to fucking listen to Pink Floyd. And later on, I looked through her browsing history and found a shitload of Google searches for John Bennett Ramsey conspiracy, and snuff photos, and Jews involved with 9/11. She has saved a folder of crime scene corpses, which was a real treat to discover. She apparently also was and is addicted to kratom, which I had never heard of in my life. She would order packages of it overseas and get it shipped anonymously and unmarked to the office, which I did not know about until I opened the package and thought it was really shitty cooking spices. She would repeatedly ask me where to buy weed in this town, and I would say, I don't know because I don't smoke weed. So I couldn't stand Shmorky or his girlfriend anymore, and let him/her/it whatever go. A few days later, I found a printout she made, a letter to the local police department saying she has PTSD because of her arrest, and she had never been so traumatized before in her life, except when 9/11 happened. For proof, she included a photo of her arms, which were covered in knife cuts, every which direction, everywhere. To the best of my knowledge, she did not win the lawsuit, unquote. Now, truth be told, as much as this was already a lot, there was far more going on with Shmorky, and why lowtax and eventually everyone turned on them. Though yes, the gender stuff was something they were very much involved in at this point, as Shmorky's work started to become far more political, and specifically very much in tune with the 2015/2016 Tumblr ideologies and mindsets. That is to say, they started questioning their sex, started making every single comic they made about gender, themselves, their inner thoughts and feelings in the world, and a lot of other stuff that was just quite uncomfortable. Such as the case with the comic where they reveal their story before anyone knew them under the name they do now. The story of a young David, and how he was...
The year 2000. I had recently graduated high school and I was able to prove myself to be tech savvy for potential employers. I was smart and talented, and the internet offered many opportunities. Nothing could go wrong. Then came the dot-com crash. I ended up living at a relative's house for a while. I was struggling to get back into the game. Doing my own cartooning was barely paying the bills. I needed real work. My uncle started hating me and thought I was a big burden. I felt like a big burden. He was mostly verbally abusive, but I didn't feel safe there. I got an IRC and started asking around for people that could take me in. There was someone close by and in the same state. I thought I found my savior. I was able to offer my car as compensation until I had a regular job. I was free. When I got there, my new roommate gave me a hug. He said he admired me, thought I was really awesome. No way. You're awesome. You really helped me out here. Is there any way I can repay you? Well, I felt like I owed him. The first time he made me do it just felt weird. I rationalized that this was something I had to do, but then it kept happening. I still wasn't pulling in enough rent money, even with doing some commission work that made me uncomfortable. I did what I had to survive, and he was there to remind me that I needed to pay somehow. And then I tried to say no. He didn't need to hurt me. His presence was scary enough. I wasn't that small, but he was like a giant compared to me. He manipulated me, made me feel worthless. He kept reminding me of all he did for me. I went back in the IRC and tried to tell some people about what happened. They called me a liar and said I was seeking attention. I stopped using the chat and refused to associate with those people again. He was so careful. He didn't leave marks on me. No one would believe me anyway. I was trapped, living with my rapist. One night I silently packed my things and got out of there. I got into my car and drove back to my relative's house, held between my legs. I had to endure the fact that I failed to make it in the real world. I became more depressed than ever, which only made me look more worthless. So my impatient uncle beat me up and threw me to the ground. Again, I went looking for someone else to live with. I decided to live one state over, just completely remove myself from the area. My new roommate was kind of a slob, but he was way nicer. I never told him what happened. I never told anyone. I took every commission I could get, no matter how uncomfortable it made me. I just had to pull myself out of this hole. As the years went on, I thought I could put it all behind me, but there are people who still like to remind me of the time I was poor and desperate and a failure. I never let it look like it bothered me. I was an internet tough guy. All this stuff was supposed to just roll off my back, but it didn't. It always followed me. It never goes away. This kind of thing stays inside you forever. I've told close friends and girlfriends, but that's it. I feel like it would have only made things worse if I let the world know. That's the way so many of us feel.
Such was that comic. Beyond this, he also frequently used his klurf characters to depict rather strange fetish material, though most of this would be posted via his Patreon and not to the general public. There was also this rather popular comic he made in which he's asked the question, "What are you?" Mostly noting on to whether or not he saw himself as a boy or a girl, which he ultimately said that he was neither, in his opinion, noting though that he considers himself a feminist and that he draws comics and cartoons for girls because they deserve a fair amount of content that's just for them. But that this does not make him a girl though, neither does wanting to smell pretty, apparently, as opposed to cat piss, I suppose. But regardless, this further change, like Lowtax had noted, was reflected in his voice as well, something that was first noticed via the gaming garbage let's plays, where his voice went from sounding how it normally sounds to it being far more squeaky and, frankly, strange sounding.
No, yeah, use mom. Use mom to show you the way.
Yeah, I'm dual-wielding mom and a gun.
Yeah, but mom's not on. You gotta turn mom on.
Oh, how do I
turn mom on in the park?
How do I turn mom on in the park?
Click a button, right mouse button. There you go.
Oh, there we go.
Shmorky just turned mom on in the park. That's a little puzzle.
Yeah.
It's just Shmorky Plays.
All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is just Shmorky again today, and today we play Clumsy Rex for PC Game Engine 2014. The story is that you need to grab some flowers because your anniversary gift is going to be late.
This could also be heard in the lesser-known videos on his crazy ex-girlfriend that was being discussed earlier by Lowtax. The one that was arrested and saved all those pictures of crime scenes on the computer, apparently. Her name being Amanda, and again, this video showing the two of them talking about Toho.
Next to me playing Paper Mario is my wonderful fiance Shmorky, who you may know from Gaming Garbage with Lowtax of the Something Awful forum. Say hi, Shmorky.
Did you eat all my socks?
Yes, I did. Yes. Yes, I did.
I assume that you ate them all. You ate every single one?
I did because I'm a vampire, and when I can't absorb nutrients from human blood, I have to absorb them from human sweat. That's my explanation. That's my theme, by the way, is I like really far-fetched scientific explanations for fictional things. The explanation I give for the vampire in my book Sins of the Puppet Master is that he's a fallen Anunnaki, and the Earth's atmosphere when he's away from planet Nibiru is they become vampires and they have to drink blood.
Shmorky around this time was also making a lot of strange art. In particular, a lot of this stuff I cannot show you, but there's a lot of really weird klurf art, be they getting it on, or pissing in toilets, or randomly African American fudas. All these things being poured out around the same time, as you might imagine, started to get people a little bit suspicious or weirded out by the sheer volume of it all. Then of course there's the matter of his ex-girlfriend, Amanda Mullen. Amanda is diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder and bipolar disorder. Due to this, she has to take medication to keep her mental illness in check. However, when Shmorky and Amanda would get into an argument, Shmorky would sometimes hide her pills, which would sometimes leave Amanda in a psychotic meltdown. Shmorky had at one point secretly recorded one instance of her meltdowns, where Amanda is freaking out, thinking Shmorky is threatening her and questioning their relationship. A recording which shows a clear picture of the real truth of the situation. While Amanda clearly has her problems, don't get me wrong, Shmorky was no victim here. In fact, it would be far fairer to call him a victimizer here. The following recording was uploaded by Shmorky himself in a gambit to get sympathy from his audience over what he had to deal with on the daily. What it shows is someone abusing a person by taking away their partner's pills that they need to function, and then recording it to try to frame them to be as bad a person as possible, while at the same time egging them on, trying to rile them up into doing something even more unhinged or dangerous, all for the pursuit of Shmorky appearing to be a victim. To what end, you may ask? So that Shmorky could be the sole victim, which simply put was not the reality, but like many other weird and frankly stupid people on the internet, victimhood is something that he desperately wanted to cling to. All the same though, the following recording is quite fucking crazy, all that aside, so I'll go ahead and show it to you now.
Do you love me or not? Do you want to protect me or not? Because I already said I wasn't going to do anything.
Please don't touch me again, please.
I won't. I'll never touch you again, okay? I'll never touch you again. I'll just do what you want. What do you want me to do? I'll do whatever you want. What do you want from me?
Stop screaming and pretending.
I'm not pretending! What do you want from me? What?
What do you want from me?
I just want you to tell me what you want from me.
What do you want from
What do you want from me?
No. No, you're the one that's doing this right now.
I just want you to just tell me if you love me or not, or if you're in on this or not.
In on what? Tell me.
What they're doing to me.
Tell me what I have to say.
My parents.
Yes?
Are you controlling me for them?
No.
Well, there's nothing I can do anyway, so it doesn't matter. So even if you were, you won anyway. Even if you're not, you win, okay? Doesn't matter, because there's nothing I can do about any of these people. Okay? That's why I said I wasn't gonna do anything. That's why I said I was gonna go to the cops. I just said they won. I told them that they won.
Okay.
I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight back. I can't fight back. Okay? If Hitler himself came here, he wouldn't be able to save me, alright? Nothing. Jim Howe, they're unbeatable. They're unstoppable. There is no answer. There is no answer to the Jewish question because they always win. They always win and they're mine and I'm theirs. And there's nothing I can do about it ever. Nothing anyone can. Not Roger Waters. God himself can't stop these people. They won. They always win. And I'm not gonna fight anymore either. Because they won. They always do. There's no point in ever fighting anything. Because you can never win. So I'm not gonna fight anymore, so stop being scared of me. Because there's nothing I can ever do to win against anyone in my entire fucking life.
All I wanted you to do was stop harassing the kyankas. That's all I want you to do.
I didn't. I won't.
Well, the damage is already done.
What do you want?
You realize that they can sue you, right?
And I know you're not gonna protect me, and I will let you do whatever you want to me. I told you.
What would I do to you?
What do you want to do to me?
I want you to get... Look, I don't want to put you in an institution, but I want you to get help, okay?
You can kill me because you won. There's nothing I can do to fight you or any of them. There's nothing I can do to ever fight anyone.
Well, you definitely shouldn't have, threatened their lives, okay?
I didn't threaten anyone's life!
Well, they said that they have that information, on WhatsApp and Twitter.
What?
That you,
WhatsApp?
Yes, that's the app that you were using.
Well, you know what? You
Yeah.
win. You know what? Here. It's yours. It's yours! Do it! Finish the job! It's yours. You can have it. Merry Christmas! It's yours. It's yours! Just take it!
No.
It
belongs
to you, just like I do. I belong to you. It belongs to you. The house belongs to you.
I do not own people.
Yes,
okay?
you do.
I do not. Okay?
Well, do you or don't you?
I do not own people. Okay? I do not want this kind of harassment in my house. Okay? Do you understand that I had to leave because I was scared of you? Do you know why I was scared?
How do you want to punish me? Just do it already. What do you want from me?
Well, I left the house because I was...
No, you want to punish me. What do you want to do? Physical? Do you want to rape me? What do you want? What do you want from me?
Why do you think I would do that? Why?
I don't know who you are. I don't know you.
I'm not the one that's a
I don't
rapist.
trust you.
I'm not the one that's a rapist. I'm not the one that's an
I don't
abuser.
know who you are.
And I'm not the one that's an abuser.
I'm not going to hurt you, okay? Just do what you want to me.
And I'm not the one that's pretending
I'm
like
not
I'm
pretending! Just please stop it! What do you want? What do you want? Just stop being mad at me! Just stop it! Just what is it gonna take to make you stop being mad at me? What? What do you want from me, please? Just tell me what you want. Just tell me who you are. What, if you love me, if you don't, just tell me who you are and what you want, please. Because I don't know anymore. Because I can't trust anyone anymore. So please, just tell me who you are if you love me and what you want from me. I won't interrupt this go.
So you're screaming at the top of your lungs, what do you want? What do you want? Do you want to rape me? Is that you screaming that at the top of your lungs? Probably hoping that the neighbors will hear it out of context.
No!
Yeah? Uh-huh. And now you're pulling your hair? And you kick this blade over to me, thinking that I'm gonna hurt you because I won't.
I just wanted to give it to you. I don't want any weapons. I don't want any way to fight back. I don't want to fight. I don't want to fight. I just want
I'm
to
the
know
one.
what the truth is.
I'm the one that doesn't want to fight
anymore. I just want to know what the truth is. I don't want to fight anymore.
The truth is that you are now facing the consequences of harassing two people that did nothing to you. That's what's happening right now.
They did.
No, they didn't. I'm really sorry that I have to tell you this, but everything else, whether it's true or not, this one thing isn't true.
Okay.
And even if
well, what do you want me to do to pay for it? What do you want me to do to pay for it? What do you want?
No, it's not about what I want anymore.
What do they want? Just tell me what they want and I'll give it to them. What do they want?
I don't know, okay?
Do they want me? Do they want my body, my physicality, my money? What do they want? What do they want from me?
I'm pretty sure that they want you to get help because they don't know. Because they don't know how to handle you, and I don't know how to handle you anymore. This is brand new behavior. I've never seen you act like this before. Ever.
I'm afraid.
Uh-huh.
I'm afraid. I just don't want you to.
Well, you didn't act afraid when you were harassing them. You didn't act afraid. You thought that you know.
Now I am. Okay, They won. They broke me. I'm scared now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm scared.
Sure.
I'm afraid.
What do you want me to do to prove that I'm not dangerous? That I'm not gonna fight anymore? What do you want? Because you're telling me that they want to hurt me. You're telling me you don't want to hurt me. Then you tell me that you do want to hurt me, and then they do, and then my parents do. What is it? Who wants to hurt me?
I never said I want to hurt you. When? Tell me when. Tell me when.
You're being angry.
I'm not angry. I'm scared and upset, and I'm standing very far away from you.
I am too.
You're the one that ran up to me and tried to touch me.
I don't want to hurt you.
You're the one that ran up to me and tried to touch me.
Because you said you were going to throw me out of my house.
No, I said that they wanted me to throw you out. Okay? But now I don't know what to do.
Well, what do we do? You're the boss, okay? Just do what you want.
Now, Amanda is not the most reliable narrator in the world, so take some of the next info with a grain of salt. However, through various forum posts, Amanda would end up detailing more of her side of the story, and what the relationship with Shmorky was really like, which reads as follows. Quote, Shmorky was a lot more into manipulation and verbal pounding, but he did get physical at a couple points. He would destroy things around the house when he got mad, punch holes in the walls, tear down doors. The back door of our old Missouri apartment will forever be broken. One time, he saw I was carrying a hot coffee in my hands and slammed the door on me, and while I got scalded, he yelled, "See? You never watch where you're going, you ADD case." I'm like, bitch, you saw my hands were full and you slammed the door in my face. Never apologized for it. There was a time in Washington when he thought I was talking about him online. He was always paranoid of me talking about him online. He was like a 12-year-old girl, and he jumped up and tried to rip my laptop out from my hands, and while we were struggling, I pinched his hand by accident, and he fucking called the cops. The cops came, handcuffed me, saw the obvious size disparity between us. I'm 5'1", Shmorky's about 3 times my size, and we're like, we're confused. Literally told Shmorky to be a big boy, laughed at his voice, and left. Of course, Shmorky, a typical SJW doctorate in victimhood fashion, couldn't take a hint from that, and the following days just kept calling the police until he got one who was on a power trip and flat out told them I was beating him and got me locked up. I remember the first time he pulled this shit. It was early on when I met him. He had a terrible, terrible habit of backseat driving, even though he himself didn't drive. I was making a left on a dangerous intersection, and in the middle of it, he started screeching in full squeak at the top of his lungs to the point where instinct took over and I just froze and stopped the car, almost getting in an accident. And my split-second instincts just tell me, make the source of the squeaking stop. And I go to put my hand on his shoulder, and I miss and brush my fingers against his nose. And of course, the next thing I hear is, "You hit me! You hit me!" He started screaming while I was driving, and I almost got us killed. It was on accident. "I am a rape victim! How dare you trivialize my pain!" I never met a man so determined to hold the revered status of domestic abuse victim. Shmorky spent every minute of every day looking for an excuse to be manipulative and mean. One minute he'd be screaming at me that I don't treat him feminine enough. And the next day he'd be screaming, "Don't treat me like some kind of pussy." He said those exact words to me once. I was confused as fuck, and then just realized at the end of the day, Shmorky was just a very, very insecure man. We literally had to sleep in different rooms because he couldn't bear to have me see him bald with his yarn wig off. I never understood why, at the very least, he couldn't just get a realistic looking wig. Also, his entire wardrobe consisted of shirts with his own characters on them. He refused to wear anything else. Shameless self-promotion all day, every day. One of the worst things about the relationship was that you could not have a two-way conversation with him. You would go to say something and he would always interrupt. It was the most obnoxious thing ever. He would prattle on endlessly about how great he was and how hard he had it growing up in a trailer, and how he couldn't stand how privileged everyone else around him was, and fuck what you had to say. And of course, he would never shut up about gender politics and how he was living to see a revolution happen where women took over the world by force. Lowtax was always getting frustrated with him. He would sleep till noon or 1 or 2 every day, and show up to work whenever he damn well pleased. Lowtax would ask him to do shit, and he'd straight up yell/squeak,
"Don't waste my time and my talent!"
He just had the worst fucking attitude. So of course, the day inevitably came when he came home and told me he got fired and that he'd be needing me to pay his share of the rent and bills. Did not ask, told me, and I just did it because what other option did I have? Once, just once, I told him to get a job, and it went over like a fart in church.
"How dare you? How dare you bark at me to get a job like I'm some plebeian? I'm an artist, and I can't work because no one will respect my pronouns."
And that's how I wound up financially supporting him, unquote. However, this was far from the end of it, as Shmorky also had another account that the Kiwi Farm soon found out about, and that was later confirmed by Lowtax as being a Shmorky alt as well. This account being called Sandy Pants. Now, why is this relevant? Well, because Sandy Pants is an artist and animator who is supposed to be a young girl, a very talented one at that, who had one unfortunate flaw. She was obsessed with poop, shit, crap, doo-doo brap biscuits, with some of the following being examples of that. Just shit inside my butt already. Spelling bee, I thought you said spelling pee. Pisper, like a whisper, but with piss. The brown liquid is diarrhea. Puns in porn, instant turn off. Even my shit is gay. Points to toilet where 2 poops are fucking. I'm shitting up my pussy, good for you, baby. It's so fucking shitty right now. I poop 3 to 4 times a day. It is good for you. See a doctor if you poop less than 1 time a day.
This just in, my butt. In related news, there were some farts. And now, the weather. As you can see, there are some strong gusts coming from the south. Now for the traffic. There's a huge clusterfuck of shit fucking up ass and balls over here. And holy Christ, is it ever shitty down there. Just one shitty ball of fuck wrapped in a bitch. Back to you. Check back at 11 for further developments. For now, courage. And a long wet finger wiggling around and poking you as you sleep.
I think you get the point. But also, their Ink Bunny account also has the following description. Quote, "A word to those coming here. You're only going to find the stuff that shows imaginary creatures with fake ages that would be considered underage, doing things in a sexually explicit way here. That's the only reason to come here and add me to a watch list. You sick, sick fucks." Unquote. Now, how do we know this strange, poop-obsessed person is David? Well, simple. Because someone who knew him, going by the username on the Kiwi Farms, Siloqueef, revealed it through noting her working with him before on a separate account on Furaffinity called Peaches the Puppy, which she did voice work for, which she shows proof of by showing the old voice that you can still find on that account, and a recording of her voice in a new clip that she showed to the farms.
Hi, I'm Peaches the Puppy, and this is what I sound like in the real world. Duh.
Hi, I'm Peaches the Puppy, and this is my fucking voice. Yay, Kiwi Farms vaginas.
Mind you, this Peaches the Puppy account was also supposed to be a girl that was obsessed with poop. That was yet again run by Shmorky, him hiring Siloqueef for the express purpose of making appear more legitimate as a woman doing these things. Dave also invited Siloqueef to an oikaki board, where he was going under the name Sandy Pants. They also revealed private emails Dave sent to them a long time ago, and wouldn't you know, you see that email right there? Oh, that's the same email that was also on Dave's very old and now deleted VCL Dave Bunny account, with these emails reading as follows. Quote,
"Hey, can you record a couple things for me? I'm pretending to be a girl. Can you say, 'Hello, my name is Peaches the Puppy, and I'm 12 years old. How about I like to go potty?' Or I like to poop my pants? Or pee-pee time? Maybe arf arf, I'm a little puppy." And anything silly you can come up with. Go ahead and email me the files. Thanks. Well, my name is Peaches, and I'm nuts like a sack. I got an Atari with Demon Attack. I love cartoons, and puppies are cute. Mario rules in a Tanuki suit. Someone farted, and I just felt it. My walls are melted. Whoever smelt it, dealt it. Word.
So, just to be clear, Shmorky, while he was already famous with something awful, making animations for YouTubers and Adult Swim and really getting somewhere in the world after such a long time of him supposedly suffering and going through so many hardships. That whole time, he was also secretly creating furry art, pretending to be young girls who love poop and pee and farts, and drew tons of art, made animations, and posted tons of tweets pretending to be these people, doing this for years in complete secrecy, while also sending weird messages to other people online. Which brings me to the final reveal of this terrible tale, Shmorky's messages with a 16-year-old girl. As noted by the person themselves via the Kiwi Farms. Quote, I'm the person who was with Shmorky at age 16. We were just friends at first, and it didn't get weird until I was of age. However, he RP'd 3 ways with an imaginary 7-year-old named Darla, which just looked like his klurf OC but wearing a dress and a flower. He tried to make me RP changing his diaper and eating his poop. Eating his poop! He cheated on his fiancée with me, and I noticed he did a similar piece of art for both of us, where me and her were drawn as adults, disciplining the child Shmorky. I had thousands of his degenerate RP chat logs, but they're long gone. I wanted his approval so bad that I never told him to stop. His favorite RP was bath time, where one of us was a child, and one of us was an adult, bathing the child, and he would have the adult, the child. After the adult changed the diaper and ate the baby's poop, of course. If he wanted to be a child, it was largely so that he could look at children's guilt-free, as well as just general man-childness, taken to an autistic extreme. I ditched Shmorky after I realized he had a fiancé and was using me to secretly fulfill his fantasies. Also, he didn't care at all when I attempted after my family found out I was dating a 34-year-old. He was as willing in RPs to be the He drew dozens of pictures of children pissing and shitting themselves and being disciplined by again. There are examples. The last RP I did with him, I chickened out on because it involved a child at a playground. The following is a censored reading of some of those chat logs that he had with this girl that he groomed. Quote, Teenage Daisy poops his pants just like a little boy. He gets a dreamy, relaxed expression washing over his blue face. It only lasts for a moment though. His rear end has some heavy stains on it. He bites his bottom lip, worried that you'll find out soon and treat him like a little kid again. Gets bored of magazine. Daisy, are you okay? You look a little tense. Daisy hangs his head a bit. He mumbles, I'm fine. He stays seated there, not wanting to speak up. He has a very faint odor about him, but it's still detectable. He slips out of the desk chair and tries to sneak away before you catch him. Hurries over to you and grabs your arm gently but firmly. Daisy, are you alright? Are you? Looks down at you and suddenly realizes what the problem is. Did you have an accident? Daisy whimpers. He's not able to break away from you as you hold his arm. He puts his free hand over his butt to hide the brown stain. No, I didn't, he says, fibbing. Pulls you into a hug. It's alright, dear, I promise. Everybody has accidents. Here, let's go fix you. The hug only embarrasses him further. He whines and tugs back as you pull him into the bathroom. No, I'm a big kid. I can do it myself. he insists, despite all evidence to the contrary. He looks painfully adorable as he stands there, blushing so hard on his freckled face. Daisy grumbles a bit. He hangs his head and positions himself over the potty chair. It's big enough for a boy his size, but still smaller than the toilet, and designed for cutesy cartoon drawings on it. He pees in the plastic bowl. The piddling sound is nice and loud and echoing in the room. Just as you suspected, he ends up sprinkling onto the seat of the potty. He tries his best to aim, but he gets it everywhere. He feels awkward with you watching over him as he goes. Aw man, tidy that up, Daisy, I wanna play. I toss you the container of wet wipes and sit cross-legged on the floor. His eyes light up a bit. You wanna play? He shakes himself off and grabs the wet wipes. He gets down on his hands and knees, his round rump wiggling behind him as he frantically wipes his pee off the seat. Yeah, I wanna play. My open shirt falls over my shoulder a bit, but I don't especially notice. The naked little teenager scampers over to you, still on his hands and knees. What do you want to play? He whispers to you. His cheeks are flushed and radiating heat. I push you down and get on top of you. I lean down to your face, and I can feel the heat from it. I don't know. I just want to play. Daisy always talked a big game, but he's just a virgin, and he doesn't know what to do. He lies on his back and looks up at you. As your ponytail dangles over the side of his face, he tucks in his bottom lip. His twitches excitedly, and I don't think I need to read any further. But what follows is a fully descript sexual encounter with Shmorky pretending to be a 12-year-old, being sure to detail multiple times as the encounter happens that this is a virgin, a young boy, and heavily emphasizing the fact that it is a child over and over again. Now, after all of that, you might be wondering, what was Shmorky's response to all of this? After Lowtax found this out and ended up mocking him on Twitter, after the farms had given the proper platform for his victims to speak out, after all his fans had turned on him when they realized the monster they had been watching the art of, the animations of for so many years, what was his reaction? Well, he basically had a total meltdown on Twitter about it, and tried to claim that he was being victimized and kink-shamed for this, trying desperately to change the narrative into one where he was the victim instead of the abuser. And when this didn't work, he ended up checking himself into a mental hospital. And after that, he ran. He posted a goodbye message on his Patreon, and one final comic on his Tumblr, running away and disappearing without a trace. For the most part, he's stayed completely gone. Well, at least that's how the story goes. There was theories for years about if Shmorky had died, if he was in some sort of mental institution, or had simply moved on to some new account somewhere where no one could find him, if he was living in a trailer with the rest of his family, which seemed to have some evidence to suggest that this was happening regardless. But as far as any other presence, no one really could detect anything. In that time between the end of 2017, when all of this came to light, and now, Lowtax, the man behind Shmorky's rise to fame, to begin with, arguably, had since taken his own life. The reasons for why this happened are frankly a story for another time though. Amanda, on the other hand, went on quite a few more spirals on Kiwi Farms, all of which I won't waste your time with here. But since then, on a video from YouTuber Magic Mush from about 2 years ago, she had noted that she's been doing better recently, while admitting what was heard in that infamous audio between the two is not out of the ordinary for her, as she was diagnosed with schizophrenia at age 11, though she admits these days that she can find the humor in that recording of her going off the walls, and has since barely thought about Shmorky, with most of her memories of him since fading with time. No one really knows what happened to User Carefully, the once 16-year-old that Shmorky groomed, with her last posts on the farms being from 2017, directly right after the site's owner Noel made sure that they were indeed the person they were saying they were, and that there was no doubt about what actually happened. And after it was confirmed that she was indeed the person she was saying, and that all the evidence she had was indeed true, she went on her way. Though that is without a doubt for the best that they are able to live their life in privacy away from this whole shit show now. However, as of not too long ago, back in September of this year in fact, The farms managed to find an account that had an art style that was just a bit too familiar to Shmorky's for comfort. And what do you know, this person with an extremely similar art style is also into diapers and shitting? It would seem to many that Shmorky had crawled from outside of his little hole and reared his ugly mug again. However, there was some debate over if this person was indeed them or not, since there are often cases where people will try to reappear as lost lolcows, all for the gambit of, I guess, getting a little bit of extra attention for a few mere moments. However, all bets were basically off then shortly after, as in a day or so after this account was brought up on the Kiwi Farms, everything connected to that account or that username, that name being Squiggles, was wiped from the internet. A total DFE, which I'd say is proof enough since it's clear that someone like Shmorky, David, doesn't want the internet knowing what he's up to anymore. But this account proves something, that they aren't just living a normal life, nor are they locked up or dead, but they simply changed their online handle. Thankfully, the account was found out though, as who knows what they might have been up to or doing, or who they might have been trying to get in contact with, or if time has made them only into more of a monster than they already were. All that's clear is that Shmorky is more than likely still on the internet somewhere, under yet another new name, trying desperately to change their art style so they won't be found out again. But as always, no matter how hard they try, Shmorky, it seems, can't help but eventually out themselves time and time again, falling into the same distinct trappings that exposed them for what they are to begin with. And after what he did, there are those that are going to always be around to make sure that he and no one else ever forgets. So, now I'll ask once more, what is ZALGO? Sometimes, no matter how hard one tries, the horror of fiction simply can never match the horror of reality. Even if your creepy concept is all about destroying reality in some kind of messed up fashion, is ultimately lines upon a page, words upon a screen. It's hard not to see the parallels, even if totally by just accident, by sheer coincidence though, of ZALGO, an infector of childhood cartoons and of their sincerity, with that of Shmorky himself, someone who fetishizes and enjoys the idea of children being hurt, being punished, of them enjoying shit and piss and wanting to have their innocence taken from them by an adult. He enjoys it so much he doesn't mind playing in the role of the victim or the abuser, and has no qualms with grooming minors to satisfy his sick kinks and filthy desires. ZALGO is a concept of pure corruption, of absolute evil that brings with it the end of the mundane, the twisting of childlike joy, the destruction of innocence. Made by a man who had their very own innocence taken from them from a young age, and in turn became a twisted entity in of himself. One that threw away all that was mundane about themselves, their art, their skills, passions, fame, money, respect, all of it, for the sake of jerking off to poop. A man who parroted and pretended to be young girls online, so that he may actually LARP as someone who is supposed to be innocent, be as gross and weird as he is. And they are also ultimately someone who destroyed the innocence of someone else, a 16-year-old, and that is sadly just the one that we know of. ZALGO is a silly creepypasta monster, truth be told, in the form of an abstract concept, made by a genuine monster in the shape of a silly yet creepy degenerate of a man. The man who let his own wretched and malevolent desires destroy both the reality of his life and others around him. And that, I would say, is ZALGO, Shmorky, Sandy Pants, Peaches the Puppy, or simply David Kelly. Oh, and happy Halloween, everyone.